Before we start, go ahead and hit that like button right now. Not because you're gonna like it, but because after this story, you might not be able to come back here. Subscribe to the Insomnia channel and hit that bell, cause the stories that live here don't end when the video does. They keep going when you turn off the light, when your room gets all quiet, when sleep just ain't coming. Put on your headphones, turn off the light, make sure that door is really locked, and remember, not all insomnia is normal. Some of it starts after hearing things that shouldn't be heard. With that said, let's get to our first story. Story 1. Someone knew I was alone. I remember that feeling exactly. That strange feeling in my gut that something was off, even when everything looked just too normal. I had just gotten to that age where my folks were starting to trust me. I wasn't a grown-up yet, but I wasn't treated like a little kid anymore either. We lived in a little town, the kind where the streets are too quiet at night. Everyone knows each other by name, and nobody locks their doors during the day. A place where you grow up thinking danger is something that only happens far away. That weekend, my folks decided to go out. Nothing out of the ordinary. They were gonna grab dinner, maybe meet some friends, and come back later. They left me some cash, gave me their usual quick speech, and then they were gone. When the door closed, the house was all mine. TV on, video game ready, total freedom. It was supposed to be a perfect night. I spent hours playing, completely lost in the game. Time just flew by without me even noticing. When I got hungry, I did the obvious thing. I ordered a pizza from the closest spot, one of those places everyone in the neighborhood knew. While I waited, I kept playing, no rush at all. When the doorbell rang, I ran downstairs with the money in my hand. I opened the door just enough to grab the box. The delivery guy seemed strange. Nothing too obvious. Nothing you could point to and say he was dangerous. But something felt off, you know? His stare lasted too long. The silence did too. While he was getting my change, he looked up over my shoulder, like he was checking out the whole house. And then he asked, in a way too casual tone, "Are you all alone in there?" That sent shivers down my spine. I lied. I said my parents were on their way. He nodded, handed me the change, smiled a little too quickly, and left. I closed the door and tried to tell myself I was just overreacting. Kids do that. They imagine things. I ate the pizza in the kitchen, put the rest away. I went back to my room and kept playing. Hours passed. The house got real quiet. That heavy kind of quiet you only get late at night. And that's when the doorbell rang again. My first thought was simple. My parents are home. I ran downstairs already calling their names before I even got to the door. But the answer came from the other side. A man's voice. I didn't know it. "Hey, I need some help." My stomach dropped. I asked who it was. He repeated that he needed to use a phone. He didn't say why. He didn't say where he came from. He just kept pushing. I stood there, frozen, staring at the closed door. I decided to go upstairs. Not opening that door seemed like the only smart thing to do, but when I got to the first step of the stairs, I heard a dull thud on the wood. "Wait, please." That could only mean one thing. He saw me. The door had a glass part at the top. Even with the light off outside, I could see the outline of his head. Still, pointed right at me, like he was waiting. I ran. I went into my parents' room, locked the door, and called my mom with shaky hands. When I told her what was happening, her tone changed right away. She started asking quick, direct questions. If I had talked to anyone. If anyone could know I was alone. And I remembered the delivery guy. As I was talking, the doorbell rang again. Once, then again. My mom told me to stay quiet and said the police had already been called. That's when I heard the side gate opening. Real slow. The sound was too quiet to be an accident. I whispered that into the phone and heard my mom hold her breath on the other end. She told me to turn off the light, hide, and not make a single sound. Then came the footsteps. Footsteps inside the house. They weren't fast. They weren't heavy. They were calm, exploring, like someone who had all the time in the world. I squeezed under the bed, trying to control my breathing. The footsteps went up the stairs, down the hall, and stopped right in front of my bedroom door. The doorknob turned. Once, twice, then, light knocks. Almost polite, not a single word. When he gave up and the footsteps walked away, I thought I was gonna pass out right there. I stayed still, waiting. Minutes that felt like hours, until I heard different voices, strong voices, voices of authority, the cops. They came in through the back door, which was already open. They never found anyone, but they found the door unlocked, the window open, the perfect way in. That night, my parents came rushing home. The police wrote down everything, including the description of the delivery guy. The next day, we went to the pizza place. The employee who matched the description just never showed up. The manager denied everything, and nobody ever gave any explanation. To this day, what scares me the most ain't the sound of the doorknob. It's the certainty that someone knew exactly when I was alone. And in the next story, this feeling of being watched don't happen in a regular house. It happens in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by woods, where no one should be, but someone was. Story 2. He didn't knock to come in. There's a huge difference between quiet and being all alone. And I only figured that out after I moved to the middle of nowhere. When my parents retired, they decided to leave the big city and build their dream house. It wasn't just some regular country place or a neighborhood way out there. It was a forest, thick, closed in, never-ending. Trees that were too tall, paths that vanished quick, and this constant feeling that the civilized world was miles behind you. The house was huge, beautiful, too modern for that kind of place. 2 floors, big windows, lots of light during the day. At night, though, it turned into something else. The walls seemed too thin. The glass reflected more than it showed. And the dark outside wasn't normal. It was deep, thick, like it swallowed anything that moved away from the house. Back then, I was still living with them. One night, my parents went out to dinner in the closest town, which was rare. I was all alone. No big deal. I'd been alone other times. I poured myself a drink, went downstairs, and put on a movie. It was about halfway through the movie when something changed. It wasn't a sound. It wasn't something that scared me. It was just a feeling. My body just went on high alert, out of nowhere. My heart was beating fast, and I was breathing real short. I had this clear idea that I wasn't by myself, even though I knew I was. I looked behind me, at the big windows that looked right out into the woods. It was pitch black, no light, nothing moving. I tried to just shake it off. When the movie ended, I went upstairs to turn off the lights downstairs. I turned off one room, then another, until my eyes just stopped on the back window. And then I saw him, a man. He was just standing out there, so close to the glass, it was like he was part of the house. Dirty clothes, messy hair, standing way too relaxed for someone who should have been lost. But what really got me was his face. A big smile, stuck there, his eyes wide open. He wasn't even blinking. In his hand, something metal was shining from the little light coming from the house. He didn't knock. He didn't say nothing. He didn't try to get in. He just stood there, watching. I took a step back, then another. without taking my eyes off him. I went to the next room to turn off the last light, and when I looked at the glass door of that room, he was already there too, like he knew exactly where I was going. Just inches away, only separated by the glass. I ran upstairs. I didn't scream. I didn't say nothing. When my parents walked through the door a few minutes later, I was pale, shaken, trying to explain something that sounded crazy even to me. My old man didn't argue. He grabbed what he needed to protect himself and went to patrol the house. My mother told me, in a low voice, that there had been reports of break-ins in the area. A man wandering through the woods, stalking houses, never breaking in. The cops were called. They didn't find a thing. I tried to sleep that night. And that's when the noise started. A soft sound, rhythmic, metallic, coming from downstairs, like something tapping on the glass. Slowly, patiently. The sound would come back some nights. Sometimes it would stop for hours. Sometimes it would wake me up in the middle of the night. I never saw anyone, but I always felt the same thing, the certainty of a presence. Months later, in the winter, my parents went on a trip. I was alone again. This time, with the whole house locked up tight and a big dog with me, a gentle animal but super alert. That night, I heard footsteps in the snow, slow, heavy, going around the house. The dog growled. He didn't bark at first, just a low, serious growl. Then he started barking non-stop, staring at the front door. Then came the knock. It wasn't hard, it was calculated. I didn't answer. I stayed still until dawn. When I went outside, I saw the marks, human footprints all around the house, stopping at every window, like someone had checked each one, calmly, to see who was in each room. That night, the sound came back, louder, closer. I got up the nerve, turned on the outside lights, and looked. He was there, the same man, same smile, same empty stare, the metallic object still in his hand. He didn't back away, he didn't show any fear. He just stood there like he was figuring out how long it would take me to give in. When he finally moved away, he walked backward into the woods, without turning his body. After that, I never saw anyone again. But even today, when I think about that house, I'm sure of one thing. He didn't want to come in. He wanted me to know he could. And the next story proves that sometimes the one on the outside ends up getting in. And the worst part, without even having to break anything. Story 3. Someone was testing the windows. I woke up with that classic feeling of danger. No noise, no bad dream, just my eyes opening on their own and my heart already racing. It was a trip with friends. Nothing much. A small group, all young, renting a remote cabin to drink, laugh, and disappear off the map for a few days. The place looked perfect in the ad. Isolated, too cheap for its size, surrounded by nature. The kind of place that promises peace, but delivers too much silence. The road was already a warning. Cell service died too early. The path turned to dirt, then to stone. Trees closing in overhead like a tunnel. When the cabin finally showed up, nobody said nothing, but everyone thought the same thing. That didn't look like the pictures. The windows were dusty. The wood creaked even with no wind. The weeds got too close to the porch. It gave the impression that the forest was trying to take back what was hers. The first night went by pretty normal. Loud music, drinks, idle chatter. But when the music stopped and silence took over, it got heavy. You couldn't hear insects, not even wind. Nothing. I went to sleep in the downstairs bedroom, near the kitchen. A small room, just a bed and a window facing right into the woods. I turned off the light and closed my eyes. That's when I woke up. For no clear reason. I just woke up. And then I heard it. A light tap. Like a beat. Too steady to be a branch. It wasn't metal. It wasn't wood. It was skin. Thump, thump, thump. I slowly turned my head to the window. He was there, pressed right against the glass. His face was so close I could see his breath fogging up the glass. Eyes wide open, mouth slightly open, no shirt on, no look of surprise that he'd been seen. He started tapping a little faster, not hard, just messing around. I tried to call my friend who was sleeping in the living room. My voice came out weak. When he woke up and saw, he jumped back, knocking things over on his way. The porch light came on. When we opened the door, there was nobody there, but the ground told the story. Human footprints, barefoot, going all the way around the cabin, stopping at each window, like someone had calmly checked who was in each room. We should have left right then and there, but we didn't. On the second night, nobody was relaxing. The doors were locked up tight. We used whatever we could find to protect ourselves. We barely slept a wink, and it was in the middle of the night that everything went south. One of my pals went to the kitchen to get some water. He stopped in the hallway. He called my name without raising his voice. When I got there, I saw what he was pointing at. Someone was inside the house, standing there with his back to us, in front of the open fridge. The same guy, dirty, naked. His skin was all scratched up, like he'd been walking through thick bushes for days. He was swaying a little, like he didn't know where he was. We turned on the light. He wasn't there anymore. The back door was open, not broken, not forced open, just open, like it was never really locked in the first place. We were out of there in less than 30 minutes. Nobody argued. We just grabbed what we could. We jumped in the cars and didn't stop until our cell phones got service again. When we told the cops everything, their reaction was kinda cold. Like that story wasn't anything new to them. They talked about people living in the woods, folks who watch before they act, folks who test your limits. Days later, the cabin's ad disappeared. No contact, no explanation, no refund. Even now, what bothers me most ain't that guy's face. It's remembering that on the first night, he didn't try to get in. On the second, he was already inside. What would have happened if we'd stayed just one more day? And now tell me, do you really think this story ended here? If it made you feel uneasy, if the silence got heavier, hit that like button. It helps Insomnia keep bringing stories that won't let anyone sleep in peace. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell, because every week there are new tales, new nightmares, and new reasons to stare at the ceiling at 3 in the morning. Comment down below if you've been through something similar, or if you prefer to pretend it never happened. But be careful. Some stories like to know who's listening. Good night, if you can sleep.